Hey, welcome, friends. Sean here with BlueRidgeSilverhound. We got a little bit of a late upload on the midweek edition of the Pocket Change Market Report. You guys will be seeing this drop. Let's see, Thursday, yeah, May 5th, right? Yeah, I'm a little slow at the uptake with the new month. It's been just a crazy week. The Central State Show, of course, coming to a close. And, checking out the markets and the various coins that have sold on that side has been consuming quite a bit of my time, along with other, personal stuff. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and fit in this Pocket Change Market Report. We're still going to do the Saturday edition as well, because you guys like seeing that, as a lot of you are out at the shows, at coin shops. You guys are picking up your rolls and all that great stuff at the bank. There's going to be a lot of that stuff going on the weekends. But we have a fairly nice list here of coins to talk about today. Again, these are all coins that can be found in circulation, but also at the same vein, these are also coins that you could cherry pick at a local coin shop or show, or maybe scouring eBay. I do that quite a bit with tons of success. You would be surprised how many people don't really know what they have until it's too late. And then the idea is you're trying to add to your collection at a much smaller out the door price than you normally would. All right, but also there is also that opportunity where you could flip some of these for a really big profit potential, and that's where a lot of people come in and they try and make this as a part of like a supplemental income, which works out really well for a lot of folks. And you can make an extra $500 to $1,000 really easily by doing something as simple and fun as going through money. And we take a look at coins, but also currency on this list. You're going to find a nice general kind of mix of those things in these market reports. And then finally, all the coins are ungraded. Okay, typically we want to talk about ungraded coins because that's an extra added expense by PCGS and NGC that, on some of the lower value errors and varieties, just doesn't quite make sense to do. All right, if you spend $65, for example, grading an error coin through PCGS, and at the end of the day, it turns your $20 coin into what, $50? Yeah, it really doesn't make any sense. You're going to lose money at the end. All right, so let's go ahead and jump right into these listings. These are all sales from the last 24 to 36 hours. And yeah, sure was a pleasure. Come join me as we take a look at some of these here. And of course, we'll come across listings with some less than desirable photos. In the case of this 1941, it's a little out of focus. The pink background is a little polarizing for photography, although it does kind of grab the eye, so there is that. But yeah, the focus is really the big issue here. But even with the focus issues and the reverse being cut off a little bit out of the frame of the photo, there's still a lot to unwrap here. So we have a 1941 Lincoln wheat cent that exhibits two clips. We have a pretty nice sizable curved clip at the top of the coin. That's at that K12 to K1 region. But also there next to Liberty as well, you have a much smaller clip as well. This coin, even though it has a little corrosion spot on the reverse, still did sell for $14.50. There will be lesser examples that'll have not quite a strong clip like you see at the top of this coin. But you can find some of those rather minor clips and still do okay with them if you wanted to resell them. Now here's another one right here that trips up a lot of folks. It's a 1996 Lincoln Memorial Cent. And the big thing that kind of confuses most people is that the coin obviously has a much thicker rim on the front and back of the coin. You can see that right there. But this right here is actually just a very minor broad strike. There was no collar present when this thing was struck, so the metal flow goes outward a little bit more than usual, kind of like pressing your finger in a ball of Play-Doh. All the Play-Doh goes outwards. Kind of the same premise here. A rather minor one. It has circulated a fair deal, and it does have carbon spotting, which is a type of corrosion. This one sold for $4.18. investing, or holding on to Zinkins, which are post 1982 copper coated Lincoln cents, or zinc core Lincoln cents rather. Can be a little dicey if you don't know how to store them. These things will deteriorate pretty easily with just a little bit of moisture. So keep that in mind if you're looking to collect into these, or if you have some to sell. Now might be a good time to do so while the market is very robust. Now, I believe this is the only off-center single coin on the list, but it's a 1998p Washington quarter. This thing is off-center by about 25%. It's a very attractive coin. The photo was taken in a 2x2 holder, so you do have a little bit of a darkness. You're not really seeing the true surface of the coin because it is in that holder. Plus, you also have a little bit of glare as well from the plastic. I always tell folks, take your coin out of the holder. You're going to get much better photographic results than you do here. However, there's no understating a really good off-center strike. A lot of these were found in those mint-sewn bags, although the Federal Reserve Bank doesn't do that anymore. But if you went back, say, 20 years and you're still able to find some of these mint-sewn bags, this is one such error that you can find pretty regularly in there. This one right here, great sale, sold for $41 with 19 total bids accumulated for that amount. Just a really nice, pleasing, uncirculated issue. We do have our first bit of paper money. We have a 1988A $10 bill here. This is the small head type design. So, we don't see these quite that often, and that's okay because, this very error that you're about to see here momentarily can be found on the newer big head style of notes. So make sure you're looking at all your notes for all of these different type of anomalies. But this one right here, it doesn't look like anything strange is happening on the front. But if we flip it over, we have a full 100% front to back wet ink transfer. So the impression cylinder had a little bit of residual ink. The printing plate and the impression cylinder made contact with a nice little bit of ink. So when the next sheet is fed in, it'll print out that the residual ink will end up on the back side of the note. This is kind of like a paper equivalent to a clash die, something like that, if that helps. But this is always a desirable error. As you can see, it does exhibit quite a bit of handling and circulation wear. It does have fold marks at the spots that you would find them on, so every 25% of the note would have a fold. This one sold for $113.50 with 25 bids. I would say, above all else, this is the type of error that if you did find it, that you don't need to grade it because they sell themselves. That's the good news. The next one that we have here, even though it's on a relatively tougher date coin, this is a 1911D Lincoln wheat cent, does have a pretty substantial detached lamination point on the front of the coin, so you can see that detached lamination right on Lincoln's jacket. The coin is not pretty at all. This thing is pretty rough. But this is also a testament to the desirability of such errors, irrespective to the actual grade and condition of the coin. So keep this in mind. This one sold for $23.90. There are folks that do collect these by date. 1911D is a much tougher date for a lamination. So when someone does something like this does come out into the marketplace, it's going to draw some interest, and it sure did. $23, not too bad. Now here's another lamination error, this time on a incredibly difficult date here, 1921S Buffalo Nickel. The coin is not in fantastic shape, and that's okay. This is a prohibitively expensive coin. It grades XF and higher. All right, there are going to be many hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. But for an eagle-eyed treasure hunter that goes through like bulk Buffalo nickels, this is a good one to find here. As you can see, the lamination on the reverse there, right on the Buffalo, is going to be the point of interest. This one sold for $32.01 with 3 bids. And of course, lots are always a good target, primarily for reselling. All right, so when people throw lots up, right, you're kind of expecting to sell it for a lot less than, say, if you had sold each coin individually. That's kind of the expectation that goes into this. Like, you know what? I just want to get rid of it. I'll group it all together, sell it, and I'll take a discount hit. This is a lot of 8, count them 8. Lincoln's memorial cents are all copper-coated zincans, as you can see. A few of the coins even have some pretty gnarly black carbon spotting, along with early stages of deterioration in the zinc area of the coins. But I'll leave it up to you guys to decide if whether or not the juice was worth the squeeze here on this sale. This one right here with the stretched out off-center strike is a uniface. That particular example right there was overlapped on another blank planchet, so that's why you don't have any details on the back. But that one looks particularly risky to just hold on to because you have so much exposed zinc there. But this particular lot ended up selling for $65 with 19 bids. If you break down the costs, if you've done your research and found out how much comparable singular coins have sold around the marketplace, you'll find that this one, I'd say there's really not a lot of room here to make a money on. I would have probably want to buy the slot for around $30 to $40 if I wanted to truly double up my money. This one, just based off of the eye appeal of the examples, I would have stayed away from this. But please do look for other lots as well. There have been quite a few that I've chronicled over the course of the last year that all have double, triple me, written all over the listing. And that's okay. If you got the little bit of time to resell these, then I would highly recommend it. All right, quick little update on one of the more common varieties to find. Now, take note of the condition. The reverse is extremely unattractive. It's quite ugly on this one. But it's a 2000p Lincoln Memorial Cent. This is, of course, the wide AM reverse. You can see the A and M in America have a pretty good gap in between there. So this is the transitional reverse that wasn't supposed to happen on these coins. As you guys know, you can find wide AMs on 98, 99, and 2000. 99 being the rarest out of the three. This one is also designated as FS901 in the Cherry Picker's Guide, and even a coin in this condition with the staining and spots on the reverse did sell for $9. Again, these generally have sold for about $5 in this condition about a year ago. We're seeing the market slowly tick up on these as a lot more examples are getting closer to that $10 mark. Now, one of my favorite errors has always been cuts because they have a reliable secondary market. They're quite desirable. There's a bunch of different sizes, shapes, and attributed types that people love to collect. And, whether they're early coppers or more modern copper-coated zinc compositions, they're all quite desirable. Now, we have a 1983 Lincoln Memorial that has a really nice, smaller kind of cut die break here at the base of Lincoln's bust. At first glance, you would easily overlook something like this, or, to the untrained eye, it would look like damage. Okay, that seems to be one of the first thoughts when you look at this if you're not in the coin hobby. This one right here in this condition sold for $19.55 with 2 bids. Keep in mind the correlation between the size of the cud will ultimately equate to a very nice sale price. Much like this one here, how about 56D Lincoln Wheat Cent? This one, as you can see, has a much bigger, in comparison, cud die break over the word trust there on the obverse. This is just a really, really attractive looking coin. The reverse, not really good looking. It does exhibit a little bit of what could be some sort of staining or corrosion. It's not the perfect coin by any stretch, but this is a really nice cud die break and probably one that a lot of folks don't own. This one sold for $74.56 with 5 bids. That is quite nice. Don't forget to check your scrap silver as well. You could find something like this. A coin that customarily melt value wise is worth about $6 to $6.50. Could be worth a lot more than that. This is a 1942 Washington quarter. You could tell that on the front of the coin, it looks and appears like it's slightly off center. You got a much thicker rim there on the left side of the coin than normal. It turns out that this is a little bit of a partial tilted collar. So the collar was slightly tilted during the strike, leaving a little bit of the reeded edge on there, but also you have this railroaded raised rim area on the edge. That is one of the kind of main features of a partial tilted collar. And easily, this will transform a coin, again, melt value of about $6. This particular one sold for $42.99. If you were going to ask anyone, would you trade $6 for $42? I mean, the answer I would say is 99.9% of the time to be yes. It's going to be that very tiny percentage that, people will just hold on to it. Here's a 55D Lincoln wheat cent. Nice circulated example here. It's a relatively clean coin. I don't see anything that is particularly distracting of it. This one right here has one of my favorite anomalies, and that's going to be the BIE die chip. You could see the formed die chip, which is a weak spot on the die in most cases of these 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s Lincolns. You can find BIEs even on much later dated coins. But the formation of that die chip almost looks like an eye in every particular case. These used to be kind of a hard sell a few years ago. Good luck trying to sell them for like 50 cents to $1. But things have changed. People have embraced this as kind of a really good kind of collecting direction. People want to assemble full progressions of these BIE die chips, and they're willing to stretch the money factor on these a little bit more. This one in this condition ended up selling for $8.50 with 7 bids. Again, the average on these BIEs across all grades has been in that $5 to $10 range, while some of the more tougher dates have commanded so much more. Now here's one of my favorites. This is really a nice 1934D peace dollar. One of my favorite VAM varieties, and this is actually a double die obverse. The biggest kind of focal point of this is going to be the doubled rays. It's more apparent here on the right side of the rays of this crown here. But yeah, this one's really cool. I forgot what the VAM number is here, but this is a top 100 variety, and one that if you're still able to find these in a coin shop case or a coin show and it's raw or even graded, there have been graded examples that have gone through unattributed. This would be a good one to locate. This one sold for $198.50. Most of the time, this is a coin that you wouldn't even need to grade. Much lower condition examples still sell for double, triple, quadruple the melt value. So this is always a really good one here, and it's more common than you realize. Okay, well, this is a coin that took the world by storm a couple years ago. 2020 Philadelphia minted American Samoa double back quarter. This one has a pretty nice sizable strike through there right on the bat's face. So yeah, it looks like you got knocked out by something. They get a lot more gnarlier or ridiculous. Yeah, I butchered that one, right? Yeah, but this one right here, check it out. The coin is circulated. It's not mid-state anymore. It's probably more along the lines of an AU 50, 53, somewhere in that area. But even still, a coin with a lot of value. Sold for $66 with 11 bids. These are usually accompanied by feeder finger scrapes, which you'll see here on the right side of the bat's kind of like head and shoulder area there. Yeah, it's always a good one to look out for. Believe it or not, these are quite plentiful out there. If you're on the East Coast or east of the Mississippi, this should always be a prime target in your quarter hunts. Now, I love this note, all right? $1 bill, and this is kind of like the big reason why you want to hunt currency. I think people kind of shudder like, man, I'm all about coins. I don't want to, do paper. It's, it's too much work, and I've heard all the excuses, but when you have something like this that comes across the auction block, and the note is not perfect, grade wise. It's a really nice fancy serial number, and it's a star note out of all things. You put all of these different variables together, and you have a note that obviously is going to sell for a really substantial premium on eBay or Heritage or Great Collections, you name it. The note, has circulated. It's fancy low serial 90 with a star. And just so happens that this particular note right here sold for $172.25 with 10 bids. Again, just an incredibly attractive note in spite of its folds on the paper. Again, it's not a perfect note, but for the collectors of this fancy serial number subject, they pay wild amounts of money. This one right here, not too bad. Again, there's a little bit of the reverse image there. A very circulated note. Again, these still bring lots of value with the circulation wear. Now, here's one that, kind of took me by surprise. And this is a coin that has had a little bit more of a conversation of late. 1943, as you can see, there's a little bit of weakness on the 4 of the date of this steel cent. Right there. There are certain examples where the 4 is almost completely obliterated. I kind of call it, I guess, maybe a clogged eye issue or a strike through. I've heard of a number of different types of things that could cause this particular feature on this coin, but people have embraced these, and they want like a progression kind of set. So they're looking for higher grade specimens, and believe it or not, they're paying a lot more money than what I think the market truly should be on these. This one example here sold for $37 with 18 bids. Could it get a lot more higher? It could. There are also some of these on, I believe, S-minted coins as well. So if you have some of those with the weakened 4 or completely missing 4, you might want to consider selling them. Because the market, like all of a sudden out of left field, has been incredibly healthy on these. And I think that's just more of a case of there are a few people that want this for a progression set. So something to keep in mind if you got these and they're like in brilliant condition, but yet to you they may not be worth like grading or anything, you might want to consider selling a raw example. Now here's a coin that's very similar to the 42D silver that we saw earlier. This is a 1983P, just a smidge off center, but really on this one right here, it's a I guess a partial collar as well. You can see that on this side of the edge there is no visible reading. All right, so yeah, pretty crazy here. Always look at the edge. When you think you have a coin that is slightly off center by just a little, or it looks broad struck, look at the edge. This will kind of give you a lot more of the story than you realize. This one sold for $27. And again, it's a coin that you come across and change quite frequently. I actually found one the other day on a nickel out of all things. So, good coin, good error to look out for. Now, here's a less than fancy, good-looking 1945S Lincoln wheat cent with a pretty nice detached lamination. Again, more laminations are kind of filling the stat sheet this week on the PCMR. And we have one really big one you guys need to check out. Can't even believe it's sold for that amount of money, by the way. But this 45S here has a pretty sizable detached lamination. It's all scratched up, too. It's a coin with its obvious warts, but even with all those warts, it did sell for $40. Can you imagine someone coming up to you, giving you two $20 bills for this thing? Heck, I would do that over and over and over again until I could retire. I probably have a number of these just ugly-looking laminations and strike-throughs that, for whatever reason, the market is calling on these sort of things, and people do want them. In any condition, virtually any condition. Here's another one. Again, a big hitter from last year, still being found out there in circulation. This is a 2021 Philadelphia Tuskegee Airman with the strike through right on the building on the reverse. This one right here is a pretty nice, sizable one. The coin is actually in really nice shape. It does have quite a bit of luster left, and this one sold for $70.95. Glad to see the value of these hold up even 1 year after discovery. Another good one to look out for if you're a hunter of the bulk Lincoln wheat cents. This is a 1956 D over D repunched mint mark. Note the condition of the coin. Very well circulated in this case. There you can see the secondary D is punched west of the primary mint mark. A very, very strong RPM. This one is also FS501 in the Cherry Picker's Guide. This one never ceases to amaze. Price-wise, it sold for $41.53 with 24 bids. Outstanding. And for the first time, we're going to throw in a little bit of Canadian paper money. We have a $20 bill here. This one is actually quite neat. And given all of the counterfeiting type of technology that they implement on their current bills, including the fact that they're all polymer, they're all plasticky type of material. This one right here, pretty well circulated. Nothing with nothing with fancy serial numbers or anything like that. Although this hologram strip is placed in the wrong area of the note, or it was miscut or something, but it's over the 20 on the front of the bill. You can see that right there. So yeah, this is a known error of sorts on these notes up in Canada. So if you do come across these, yeah, they are desirable to the next degree. This one ended up selling for $208.74 with 9 total bids. I didn't even know Canadian paper money had this kind of clout in the collectible space, but I'm glad to see it. All right, that is very welcomed. Another notable repunch mint mark, this time on a 1955 S Lincoln Weedy. This Sweetie is pretty nice. It's got a lot of mint red. I would say it's probably mint state. Not the greatest looking mint state example I've seen, but this is another Cherry Picker's Guide. This is a triple S, and both S's were punched north of the primary S. You can see the double top curl of the S is right there. One actually touches the bottom of the 5 there. Yeah, this is a Cherry Picker's Guide. Like I mentioned, it's RPM number 1 in all of the listed variety sites. This one right here sold for $34. And I think this is a coin that has a lot more future potential. You know, I see this and I'm like, yeah, this could be a coin that could be $50 to $60 one day. And that time will come. What in the world? We're giving away breakfast. No, but as you can see, this is another sealed box of Cheerios, circa 2000, when General Mills was actually giving away these brand new Millennium Lincoln cents and the brand new Sacagawea dollars. Now, you know, the chance of actually finding a Sac dollar in these, and people had said on one of my previous videos talking about the box of cereal that sold for a lot of money, these can be weighed. All right, so more than likely the person that owns this did weigh it. Come to find out, it didn't quite meet the expected tolerances, I guess, for, you know, there being a Sac dollar. But still, people do actually save these things. Can't believe it. The amount of money this box of cereal sold for, also equally stunning. How about $450 is what this realized? The true kind of like gambler would pick something up like this in the hopes of finding a Cheerios dollar, which has a different engraved reverse on it, that would typically sell for $5,000 to $10,000 depending on grade. So there's that whole gambler's premium associated with this. Me personally, I would stay away from these. I wouldn't even touch it with a 100-foot pole. All right, pretty cool 2-coin lot here. We have a 68S and a 69S Lincoln cent pair. Good to see consecutive dates here with pretty sizable curved clips. You also do have a little bit of Blakesley effect in there as well, although quite subtle on both coins. You do have a little bit of a flattening edge here. Yeah, really nice specimens. Again, people do collect these by date, and that's the big kind of selling point to these. There's a little bit of a back image there for you. Again, the coins are predominantly very attractive. I really don't see anything that would detract me from actually buying these for my collection. But this right here, this pair sold for $30 with 20 bids. I would imagine that some of the more earlier dates with clips in this condition would fetch a lot more money. Now here's a really stunning centered broad strike on this 1999 P Jefferson nickel. The nickel even appears to have full steps, which is quite cool. But yeah, this is a really nice, brilliant, uncirculated example of this nickel, which I'm sure was found in a mid-sewn bag of 99 nickels. And this one right here is pretty gosh darn close to the size of a standard quarter. All right, which they've been known to get that size. Yeah, pretty cool. I'm glad the seller decided to do a little comparison image with a regular quarter to help kind of upsell this coin. And yeah, very nice example here. Sold for $51.93 with 14 bids. This is a very common date for a broad strike nickel. Now, this is another nickel here, 1983P. This one has a pretty sizable cut die break right on the crown of Jefferson's head. Unfortunately, there wasn't any reverse image on here. I always tell folks, put your reverse image, put a full obverse and reverse image on every listing that you do. It doesn't matter what it is. While the cut die break is one that I've seen before of this particular shape and size, again, always add in the reverse image so people could see the weakness on the corresponding reverse edge. Very nice high-grade coin right here. This one sold for $42.61 with 8 bids. Now, this is a 1971S Lincoln Memorial proof. So if you're into hunting through proof sets, always remember that this one can be found in there. And this is, by gosh, one of the coolest looking errors that you'll come across. This is a doubled die, obverse rather, DDO number 1 on a proof coin here. Check out the word Liberty. Obviously it's doubled, and also the date, and then the front of Lincoln's jacket and bow tie right there. Wow, this is such a stunning one. I forgot how dramatic these are, but yeah, this is a good one to look out for. This one sold for $188.80. I know these can get a lot more expensive, but because of the funky staining pattern or toning on there, that I would imagine has kind of detracted folks from actually bidding on this one a lot higher. Here's a no-date Lincoln Memorial cent. I would imagine it's a copper-coated zinkin. Yeah, a lot of weakness here in this strike. There was probably a good deal of grease on both the obverse and reverse dies at the time of the strike of this coin, which will equate into a lot of general weakness and disappearance of some of those devices when it's struck through that grease. This one right here sold for $10.98. Again, this is a coin that you'll come across in varying degrees. Always pull them out and assess value from there. Now here's another lamination. This is like the big, like, you know, jaw dropper of the week. 1966, pretty well circulated Lincoln Memorial set with a huge detached lamination on the obverse. This was not helped along. This thing had dropped off a long time ago and then recirculated into the beauty that you see here. Just an evenly oxidized example. You know, it does have a few carbon spots, but it's okay. Now the question is this thing worth $250? Because that's what it's sold for. Someone did see the value in this coin. Me personally, I'm like, well, geez, that's way above market. But what's typical these days? We've seen other laminations on this particular report, including that 1945S that sold for $40. That was all toe up. You know what I mean? Yeah. So is it too far out of range? Yeah, a little bit, but you know, is $100 more like it? Could be. It's not my, you know, it's not my market to kind of judge, but well, actually I am judging, right? I'm doing a PCMR. But someone had pushed a button and they're an owner of this coin at 250 bones. So, you know, if you got them, apparently there's a really big market for these. I think with the big attractive feature of this is that the lamination is across some of the most centralized, most important details of the coin, and you still have a lot of that details popping through. Yeah, this is just a remarkable coin, and I would venture to guess that more examples of a similar type of appearance will be strong sellers. So keep that in mind. If you come across stuff like this, they can represent a nice resale for you. Now, to kind of wrap up our PCMR for the week, of course we got some big bangers, right? I mean, the lamination that we saw kind of like starts the conversation, but how about a raw, generally nice, low mid-state grade 1942/1 mercury dime? Is always a must-have for any collection of mercury dimes. I mean, this is the one that you need to look out for, obviously, if you wanted to add to your collection. I own 2 of these, not quite to this extent, but I'm proud to have an XF40 in my collection and also an XF45. So I got the XF grades pretty much covered on this one. This particular coin right here sold for $3,702 with 68 bids. This looks like a grading candidate, although I don't think Coins and Cards grades their items. As far as I know, I didn't look at his or hers other listings, but this, yeah, people will see this. They paid the market value for a raw example, and they're probably going to send it off to PCGS or NGC. There's a little bit of a close-up in case you haven't seen this before. Yeah, look at that number 1 in front of the 2, or overlapping the 2, or the 2's overlapping the 1. You even see a little bit of a doubled 4 there as well. Well, I believe this is our last piece of currency on the 69D. This is a fresh, crispy example, but you can see the misaligned third print that you can see there. The district seal and the serial numbers are all a little bit further south than they need to be, so you have overlappage of the first and third print, and that's what collectors like on these. The back of the note, again, showing a virtually flawless paper quality. This particular note here is sold for $60.19 with 24 bids. And how about Canadian half dollars getting a little bit of love? How about 1983p? Very nice high-grade example, slightly off-center. But most importantly, this is another one of those partial collars. You can see that here on the edge. Even, the larger the denomination for these type of errors, the more that they're going to be worth. This one ended up selling for $84.83 with 20 bids this time. And we're going to end it off on another really cool coin. Again, proving once again that you don't need to grade these. This is well, there's no date, but we know it's a Jefferson nickel that was struck on a early copper cent planchet. Pretty distinguishable error here. The coin will be brown or red, based off of the color of a Lincoln cent. So, yeah, pretty cool. Great to see these not graded. You don't need to grade them. This one sold for $137.50 with 16 bids. You can see some of the device loss because the planchet is smaller. But that's going to go ahead and do it for this one. Always a pleasure, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you guys enjoy this late Thursday edition of the PCMR, hosted by yours truly, Sean, with BlueRidgeSilverhound. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And you guys, always appreciate your guys' views. Go ahead and let me drop down, in the comment section what coin you like most out of this week's edition. But that's going to go ahead and do it. You guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and I shall see you on the next coin video. Happy hunting.